Welcome, my friends, to Lesson 4, Unit 8. So today we are going to be talking about some new terms here. Quadrilateral we are familiar with. That is our four-sided polygon with four angles. Once again, a reminder that polygons are closed shapes with a minimum of three sides, since you couldn't have a closed shape without three sides. So quadrilaterals, so squares, rectangles are both quadrilaterals, but not just squares and rectangles. Any shape that has four sides, that is a closed shape, any four-sided polygon, okay, is a quadrilateral. Now, a trapezoid is a quadrilateral with at least one pair of parallel sides. Well, you may be asking, Miss Lee, what is parallel? Well, let me show you. So parallel lines are lines kind of like a railroad track. Well, most of the time like a railroad track. Sometimes railroad tracks cross over each other. But most of the time railroad tracks run side by side like this, right? Never crossing in the back, never crossing in the front. They could go on and on forever, just side by side, just like that. Ooh, not quite just like that, because eventually those would cross. Just like that, okay? Two parallel lines, okay, running in the exact same direction. It's like the same line, just a little bit further apart from each other. So that's parallel lines. Now, a trapezoid is a quadrilateral with at least one pair of parallel sides. A parallelogram is a quadrilateral with two pairs of parallel sides. So a trapezoid might have one side like this and one side like this. So there's its parallel, right? But then the other lines in that shape might come down like this and connect the two, right? Okay. Or here we have a parallelogram would have these two sides, and then it might also have, because it's saying here, that it would have two pairs of parallel sides. So here, this could be, okay, if you look at the inside part here of the shape, okay, two parallel lines and two parallel lines, all right? So one set of parallel lines is the pencils, and one set of parallel lines is the paper, okay? So there's this parallel set, and then there's this parallel set. So you've got the pencils and the paper. Each of them creates one set of parallel lines in that shape, and that would be called a parallelogram. Now, a rectangle is a quadrilateral with four square corners, okay? Four square corners specifically. And a square is a special rectangle with sides that are all the same length. A rhombus is a quadrilateral with four sides that are all the same length. Okay? So, let's dive in. Here we go. Lesson 4 problem set. Use your ruler to draw two parallel lines that are not the same length. So you'll want to grab your ruler. Mine is right over here. And I'm going to use my ruler to draw two parallel lines that are not the same length, okay? It's a little awkward because I have the book binding here, but that's all right. So here's one. All right, and then I'm going to draw one parallel line underneath it. But they said not the same length, so this one I'm going to stop right there, make it a little shorter. Okay, easy as that. Now they're asking me to use my ruler to draw two parallel lines that are the same length. Okay, and this time I'm going to use the other, let's see, how do I want to do this? Do I want to do the end of the inches or do I want to do the upside down centimeters? I'll do the end of the inches. And I will do exactly 1 inch from 10 inches to 11 inches, okay? And then I'm going to go down, and I'm going to go from 10 inches to 11 inches. And you'll notice I'm looking on the ruler. My lines aren't exactly lined up, but they should be the same length because I measured them on my ruler, okay? Now they're asking me to trace the parallel lines in each quadrilateral using a crayon. For each shape with two sets of parallel lines, use two different colors, okay? Kind of like how I was using the paper and the pencil to warm us up to this concept. For each shape, yes, 2 different colors. Use your index card to find each square corner and box it. So if you have an index card handy and you want to use that to find the square corners, that's a great idea. If you don't, just look for the corners where you could draw little squares, right? And if you can't find little squares, don't worry about it. That's not really so much of what I am worried about in this particular moment. Pardon me one moment. I did not grab a crayon. I told myself to, and then I forgot. All right, my friends, thank you so much for your patience. Here we go. So I am looking for sets of parallel lines, and I have my purple crayon, and I will also grab a good one that's a very different color from purple. I will do bright green, okay? I'm gonna do purple and green here. All right, so let's see. I see a set of parallel lines going like this. Do you see another set of parallel lines on this shape? Oh, right here. Look at that. Now let's move on to B. I see one set of parallel lines going like this. Now would these lines be parallel? Let's see. I'm gonna grab my pencils. I'm gonna line my pencils up with the lines to find out. Nope, those are definitely not parallel lines. Those cross almost right away. Okay. Let's see. Are these 2 parallel lines? Let's look at C. Yes, those are 2 parallel lines. Now let's see, are these 2 parallel lines? Yes, they are. Cool. Now I'd like you to pause the video and I want you to see if you can do D on your own. And I want you to guess, before you even do it, does it have 1 set of parallel lines or 2? Okay, if you said that it has 2 sets of parallel lines, you are correct, okay? Now, this shape is the first shape that we've colored that has square corners, okay? You'll notice that each of those corners you could draw a perfect little square, right? So you could even just take a little square piece of paper and you could find that little perfect square, okay? And you could take your pencil or your pen and you could just box it in like that, right? Perfect little square corner. You can just make that little perfect square with your paper. Whoopsie, wrong way. What am I doing? There we go. Boop. And last but not least, it doesn't quite want to fit over here, but I will make it. Okay, there we go. Now we have our little first shape with square corners. Now go ahead and take a look at E. Does E have square corners? No. Does E have parallel lines? Well, not that one, right? Because those lines meet. Maybe these ones, these horizontal lines. There we go. There's our parallel pair. Okay, I would like you to pause the video and I'd like you to take a look at F. Look for square corners, look for parallel lines, and then start the video as soon as you've finished it on your own. Okay, welcome back. So, as maybe you found out, F indeed has 1 pair of parallel lines and another pair of parallel lines. Okay, so F actually has 2 sets of parallel lines. Oopsie, wrong way. And F has square corners. right? Look at those adorable little squares. So cute. Kind of perfect in their own way, huh? So we have a parallelogram with two parallel lines and 4 squares. Now let's move on to the next one. Are those parallel lines? Yes, they are. Now, are these corners square? No, they're not, right? These are not square corners. Even though it's still kind of like a square shape, the corners, if I tried to draw this here, it would come out all wonky, right? I can show you, but it won't be correct. So if I were to try to draw this square here, it would come out all wonky, see? That side's good, but this side goes like this. That's not a square. Okay, and then these lines are parallel as well. Okay, now moving on. Are these lines parallel? Why, yes, they are. Now, are these lines parallel? Definitely not. I can't even get the pencil into place. Yeah. So here we go. We have a parallel pair right here. Now, do we have any square corners for this shape? No, and I'm going to X that one out so that's not confusing. This shape and this shape were the only shapes that had square corners. Okay, now they want us to draw a parallelogram with no square corners. Okay, so I'm going to do one kind of like this one here. I'm going to keep going with my crayon because I like the way that this crayon feels. Okay. So just as a quick reminder, because we've been using the word parallelogram a lot, if we go back to our first page here, a parallelogram, as you can see, whoopsie, a parallelogram is a quadrilateral with 2 pairs of parallel sides, okay? So both a rectangle and a square are a parallelogram, but a rectangle and a square would both have square corners, okay? So keep that in mind, right? Now, moving on to second part of the problem statement. It says to draw a quadrilateral with 4 square corners. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and use my ruler for this because that just sounds a lot easier to me. And I'm just going to trace around my ruler. Since they're asking me to do 4 square corners, my ruler is pretty square here. Okay, and then I'm going to just come right up here, try to make that as even as possible. There we go. Now if I came in with my little square of paper, uh-oh, where has my little square gone? Strange. Oh, here it is. Okay, thank goodness. All right, so if I came in here with my little square, I could make little square corners, no problem, all day. Square corners all day. So use the tools that you have in front of you, my friends. They will help you. Okay? Now, they're asking us to measure and label the sides of the figure on the right with your centimeter ruler. What do you notice? Be ready to talk about the attributes of this quadrilateral. Can you remember what this polygon is called? Okay. So this is quadrilateral. Is it starts with a P? If you said parallelogram, you are correct, okay? So let's see. Measure with our centimeter ruler, okay? So you're going to want to pick the small size side of your ruler, and you're going to measure. Okay, so measure 3 centimeters. You can pause the video. You can measure on your own. You can come back when you are ready. Okay, what did you notice? You can go ahead and leave a response video about what you noticed here. Okay, what I noticed is that all 4 sides were the same size. They were all 3 centimeters. Now here it says a square is a special rectangle. What makes it special? And I'm not going to give this to you. I want to hear from you what it is. And then I'll check in with you over Zoom, and I'll let you know if you were right, okay? Oh, okay, I'll tell you. It's because a square has 4 equal sides, okay? 4 sides that are the same shape. Now they're asking you on the exit ticket to use crayons to trace the parallel sides on each quadrilateral. Use your index card or your little square to find each square corner and box it, okay? And then there's some homework if you would like to do it, but you do not need to. Thank you so much for joining me for this lesson, my friends, and I'll see you on Flipgrid.